Anong say mo with Mr. Euberdt A. Torrentira? Anong say mo dito?
As a Filipino citizen, we all know that we have the so-called freedom of expression, where we have the right to express our ideas, views, opinions, and sentiments about ourselves, to our public officials, and to the policies implemented to the state and to other societal issues that we have. But we are also aware that this freedom is not absolute, simply means that it is limited, and if we go beyond its limitation, we're held liable to either slander or libel case. But alam niyo ba that there are instances that this freedom of expression become absolute? Really? Yes, and it is mandated by some provision of our existing laws in our state. Take a look on this. Have you remembered when President Rodrigo Duterte cursed during his public address and he named some police generals and some local officials who were allegedly involved in illegal drugs? Naming and expressing their identity to the public became one of the controversial issues at the time. But what happened? Did President Duterte face libel, slander, or oral defamation cases filed by the persons whose names were mentioned? No. It is because the sitting Philippine president is immune or has the immunity from any suit, or we cannot file case against him in court during his term. Only for impeachment case to be filed in Congress against him. But libel, slander, oral defamation cases are not enough to impeach the president. In this situation, we can say that the freedom of expression becomes absolute to the president during his term of office. Another instance is during the privileged speeches or other speeches, including debates of our lawmakers within the session or in the session hall of the Congress, both the upper and the lower house. The freedom of expression there also is absolute because they have the immunity from being sued of libel, slander, oral defamation because of the content of their speeches. It is with accordance with the House Rule number 2, Section 9. So have you noticed that there's a lot of expose to come out during the privileged speeches, but they are limited to answers the question thrown by media outside the session hall. I know that you have noticed that. Therefore, we can say that there's really an instances that freedom of expression becomes absolute. Again, it is their privilege in order to perform well their duties, but they will also bear in mind to be responsible enough in enjoying this immunity.
Mr. Torrentira, ano say mo?
Last election 2022, aside from the issues of every candidate vying for the national and local positions, the issue of the separation of state and church also became an interesting topic during the campaign period. There was a meme on Facebook that caught my attention stated that, if INC will endorse, it's okay, but bishop or priest will do. Where's the separation of church and state? But what does separation of church and state means? We all know that this provision of our Constitution was adopted as a reaction to the abuses of priors or priests during the Spanish regime due to their great power and influence both in the state and the church. In accordance with this provision, it means that the state has no official religion and has no authority to take control on the policy and the decision making of a particular religion. Just like also to the church, it has no authority to intervene or interfere to the policies imposed by the state. Simply say that the state and the church are independent bodies. But we must also know that the state and the church are also interdependent to each other, in the sense that some people belong to the state are also belong to the church. So there are instances that the policies of the state has an impact to the church, and the doctrines of the church will influence to the state, but still they are independent to each other. If it is a doctrine of the church to endorse a candidate, then it's their right to exercise it, and the state could not curtail that doctrine. If the priest or other religious leader will show their support to a particular candidate, then it's the right as a citizen, and the state could not intervene or interfere it as they exercise that right. It is also a responsibility for the church to guide their members to choose the best leaders, and the state could not curtail it also because again, they are independent to each other. Therefore, we can say that this provision of our Constitution is somewhat technical in nature. But to understand it easily, we'll always remember that the state and the church are independent to each other and at the same time interdependent also.